What is the Ryman Auditorium? It's the best venue you want to come to see a concert. It's the best music museum, and I'm not just talking country music. It has a rich history dating before country music ever got into the building, ever came here. The building was 51 years old, had begun as a church and had a life as a church, as a tabernacle for interdenominational, non-denominational type services. But from the very beginning, there was always family entertainment, always town entertainment here. Speakers such as Booker T. Washington, Helen Keller with her interpreter Ann Sullivan has appeared in the building. Carrie Nation spoke on Prohibition. President Teddy Roosevelt, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. Will Rogers, the humorist, Americana humorist. Folks like Harpo Marx and Bob Hope, Doris Day, Jeanette MacDonald, Nelson Eddy were all here. Paderewski, Rachmaninoff, Roy Rogers and Trigger, something for everybody. And when the Opry came here in 1943, the building was 51 years old and had a vast history. One of the greatest moments that we can tell now in hindsight is one of the best things that happened here was the great Katharine Hepburn came here and appeared in the play The Philadelphia Story before she went back east to make the movie. And then when you start talking about the Opry folks that were here, you start talking about Roy Acuff and Minnie Pearl and Bill Monroe and Hank Snow and Porter Wagner and Dolly Parton and Charlie Pride. Those folks have all played here. Hank Williams, the one of the neatest pieces of history in the Ryman and with the Grand Ole Opry is that when Hank Williams was here the first time, he did 6 encores of Lovesick Blues. Pretty, not a shabby thing to tell, not a shabby story, and with all the attention that Johnny Cash and June Carter have gotten, they met here, and Johnny always dreamed of being on the Grand Ole Opry, and heard young June as a child, and had a crush on her even back then, and so when he came, in his own words, the first time I came to the Grand Ole Opry in 1956, I started talking to June Carter, and we've been talking ever since. And that was their story. That was really cool. There's the story about Hank Williams Jr. being backstage and several of the Opry ladies, doing diaper changes and things, and the stories just roll. As a fan of music, I see people come and go that I really like, and there are some that really stand out. One of the ambassadors of the Ryman, a guy who always does a show here every year. In fact, he does his fan club show here during Country Music Festival, what used to be Fanfare. And then he's part of our Bluegrass series as well as Marty Stewart. And Marty grew up here. He, at the age of 13, he played for Lester Flatt and played on this stage. And it's a pretty cool story. And he always loves the Ryman. He always comes back, and he's a friend of the Ryman. Vince Gill, Ricky Skaggs, those guys really support, and all 3 of those gentlemen are part of our Bluegrass series. So, the history, we're making new history. Ryman is still a venue. 4 months out of the year, the Grand Ole Opry returns here, November through February. So weekends, Fridays and Saturdays are still Opry. It's really neat. We discussed earlier off camera that I play music a little bit, and I'm a big fan of music. So being a former educator and somewhat of a history buff and a musician, this is a really good match for me. Personally, I've seen some great things here. In this past year alone, we've had Van Morrison, and we've had James Taylor recently. We keep adding to the history of players that are here. And then another, as I've started to mention earlier, as big a fan as I am of music, I grew up in the time of variety shows. Red Skelton and Jerry Lewis would have a show on from time to time, and Ed Sullivan, who could forget that, and Milton Berle. But we were Polestar's Theater of the Year in 2003 and 2004, small theaters. At the time, we were the smallest and the oldest to win the award, to be nominated and to win the award. And that's pretty cool. You know, I can't say that we're not proud of that. We're very proud of it. And we strive for that daily.